President Obama shattering his own record this week, granting clemency to an unprecedented 231 federal inmates. And he says he'll do more before his time is up. Joining me now to discuss, Dan Bongino and Heather Higgins. Heather, President Obama was the first sitting president to go visit a prison. Prison reform is something he talks about all the time, although without a lot of details. What do you make of this sort of, he's letting a lot of people go?
He is letting a lot of people go. I believe the reports are that his number of clemencies exceed the last 11 presidents put together. These are not just pardons, which are after somebody served their time, but it's letting people out who are presently serving time. And what's disconcerting to a lot of people is that a lot of these are people who have life sentences. They were convicted on gun possession, and a lot of them have serious criminal histories.
What's the political statement he's trying to make here?
Well, I guess the political statement is that he's unable to actually accomplish change legislatively, so he's going to do it through executive order, which is part of why he's not going to have very much of a lasting legacy. Dan, of course, the one thing that we know is that the recidivism rate is extraordinarily high, particularly for people who have been in prison as many years as a lot of these folks have been. Obviously, we wish them well, I guess, if they're going to be released to society, but what is the message, particularly from a law enforcement perspective?
Yeah, Charles, there's nothing wrong with having a pretty bold national conversation about criminal justice reform. The problem I have with this is a problem I've had with the radical far left for a long time, is they have this difficulty comprehending that there are just people in this world who are just evil. And whether it's street criminals or terrorists, they always view these people as victims of some kind of societal malfunction instead of just as generally bad people. I don't want to be hyperbolic about this. Every president pardons a few people, but this is a little bit excessive. And again, it's this problem we've constantly had debating with liberals. They just don't believe in individual responsibility, and that's why you see things like this. I'll bet you see more of it before he leaves office.
No, I think so. And here's the thing. In my mind, I think one of the big mistakes that President Obama made was relitigating and refighting battles that have been fought and they're over for the last 50 years. Particularly when it comes to so-called social justice. So, Heather, I think this is an extension of that fight, if you will, that, again, it's instead of watching the future and trying to make a better world, he keeps going backwards and trying to redress the wrongs of yesteryear, in his mind at least.
Well, there is a case to be made that the laws have changed, and there are some people who are in prison under laws and penalties that don't presently exist. But the thing to keep in mind is that almost all of these laws exist not first and foremost to punish people, but to protect people. There are people who are actively hurt by these drug dealers, most of them poor people in these communities where they're going to be moving back into. And so if you are serious about helping people, then you have to always keep that in mind. I think that's actually going to be one of the big differences with Trump. Just as he's America first, he's going to be protecting law-abiding citizens first, and then within that you look for fairness for criminals who've been unfairly treated.